Have you ever paid attention to like The Secret, or have you ever wondered if there was any truth in the whole idea that you could attract things to yourself by your thoughts and by your self-talk? I've always wondered about that, and I wondered if I've ever done it, without even being aware that I did it, because we all have things happen to us. Did we cause things to happen to us? I've never been sure about any of that stuff. So there is a book that kind of talks. It doesn't talk about this in the same sense as a book like The Secret does, but it's more like it's a love story, actually. It's called The Awakening. It is a transformational love story. It's written by our guest, Master Coach Dalconzo. He's a global visionary. He coached and taught the emotionally handicapped in New York City's inner city schools. He developed the Life Seminars. Life is an acronym, by the way, for love, integrity, freedom, esteem. And he launched the environmentally conscious Save the Humans campaign. And he's on the phone with us right now to talk to us about The Awakening. Good morning, Master Coach Dalconzo. Good morning, sir.
Namaste, Larry, and how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. How about you?
Doing great.
Yeah, where are you calling from?
New Jersey.
New Jersey? How's the weather in Jersey?
It's cold. Can't you tell by the southern accent?
Yeah, absolutely. So do you? I mean, is it a story? Is the Awakening a story that teaches us something?
Yes. First of all, if you don't mind, my first name is pronounced like you.
Like
me?
Hugh
Hefner.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, like you, exactly.
I thought it was Larry. I was going to say, that's a funny way to spell Larry. Okay. Got it. You.
Can't tell you how many times that actually does happen because of the name pronounced you.
Okay, Master Coach Dalconzo. Okay, gotcha. And
thank you, Larry.
All right. Now, so tell me the story, and how does it teach me? Does it teach me how to use the laws of attraction?
Well, I'm first and foremost a teacher, a coach, a spiritual life coach, and I've been doing that work for over 25 years. So all of my first 13 books have been textbooks, teaching people how to do the work, and just like it would if you had a history textbook or algebra. So recently I was just inspired to write my first novel. So what it is a novel about my actual experiences, both personally and professionally with clients. Of course, using poetic license and exaggerating points, but bringing the life lessons to bear about how to lead an empowered life, because let's face it, it's one soul at a time, starting with mine, when it comes to self-help.
Right. So how do we not, like, if let's say we're nervous about something and we're afraid something's going to happen, how do we not make that attracted to us? How do we stop that from happening? Just to bring a negative one to the table just for a moment.
Yeah, the negative one's important. A lot of our work is about disc creation, cleaning the slate of the mind of the negative programming. But to answer your question, if you were a client, the first thing I would tell you is don't think about a pink elephant. Now look, Larry, I don't want you to don't think about a pink elephant. Larry, don't think about a pink elephant.
He's thinking.
I got it. And she's in a bikini too. I don't know why, but she's got one on.
Well, you see the point, right?
Yeah.
So if I say to you, don't think about a pink elephant, right?
Sure.
It's not possible. So one of the first things we teach people to do is, in order to transcend, is to do some form of meditation, which everybody, they make it into such a woo-woo kind of thing, when all it is going into that same relaxed state when you don't have anything on your mind and you fall to sleep easily. Why is that? Well, we're slowing down our respiration, which simply means as the respiration slows down, there's less thoughts per second, less thoughts per minute, and the less thoughts you have, you drift off into a sleep, which obviously, if it was the EEG machine, you're moving from more of a think, beta state to a more relaxed alpha state. So when somebody's stressed out and they're worried about something, the first thing I want them to do is just relax.
Okay. Are you okay?
He's relaxing.
We see. I almost passed out.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, that was good. That's dead air in our business. So okay. So, but how does it? What is there a science behind it? I mean, is there actually a way for us to understand? The reason I ask you this is because have you ever been with somebody who is delusional, and they absolutely believe that they are the next Bruce Springsteen, but they're not. They're never going to be Springsteen, but they believe they are. So how come they believe it and their thing doesn't manifest itself?
Every day of my life. If you do what I do for a living, every day of my life. Okay, so what the key word there is belief, though, because usually what that is an inferiority complex disguised as a superiority complex. And since they're not really settled into their own who they are in the universe, their own authentic self, then they have to make up some sort of a delusion to feel good about themselves, which then is usually defined as a superiority complex. But the real issue here is this. Think about this for a moment. The psychologists will tell us that we think between 50 and 75,000 thoughts per day. And as I'm sure you know, Robin, and you know, Larry, that most of the thoughts we think are negative, and all you got to do is watch the evening news to see how we're bombarded with negativity, right? Now, let's imagine that as a mountain. So you're building up from the time you're a small child, and by the time you're 5, 6, 7 years old, your persona, your personality has been developed. And basically, whatever negativity that your caretakers bought into is there. So now people come to me, and they're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. And now think about that, 50 to 75,000 times that many years. We're talking 1 billion reinforcements of things like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Yeah. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not thin enough, etc. And now they want me to do what my job is to do, is to help them create permanent behavioral change. Well, the first thing we have to do in order to make that happen, right, is to imagine that as a blackboard, and all over that blackboard is what? I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. It's so much I'm not good enough. You can't see the words. You just see what? Chalk. So we do a disc creation exercise, which means we're literally taking a eraser and we're cleaning off the blackboard. And that is what opens them up to creating the permanent changes that they want. Now, what they normally do, like those programs you were talking about before, what they do is what is called in my industry piling it on. They pile on, feel-good thoughts, good affirmations. I love myself. I'm a good person, or whatever. But where did they pile it on top of? That mountain of negativity. So how is that going to make an impression on your neural pathway? Yeah. So first you got to make room. You literally, it's like if you had a virus in one of your Word docs, you'd have to get rid of the virus and then start again.
Right. One of the most wonderful things about your book is that it is not a how-to nor a textbook. It's written like a novel, and you have listed individual scenarios. I mean, the characters are living and breathing.
Exactly. I think that was what really drew me to do this, really mostly for my graduates, because, again, the characters in my book go through the traumas, and they actually happen to real people. Of course, I'm modifying it. It's a story. But these things happen to real people in real time. Again, the traumas in the first 2 chapters, if you happen to have read them. And this way the reader can actually feel and experience it without actually having to go through it. And most of the compliments I get from all the people that have read and fed back about the book is, I really felt like Paula was me. I really felt like Mark was me.
Yeah, let's talk about the 2 characters you just named, Mark and Paula. Mark is he's not doing too good. He wants to kill himself. But then something happens to Paula, and he's pulled out of his, I guess he realizes he can't kill himself because he's got to go help, right?
Yeah, and again, it symbolizes the dark night of the soul. When you talk to, I'm not a guru. I'm just a life coach teaching what I most need to learn and heal, starting with me first. But when you talk to the sages, these real gurus, they'll tell you most people go through a period of awakening when they hit and experience their own dark night of the soul. So for some people, that's divorce. For some people, it's cancer. For some people, that's a loved one who died. But something that really shuts down the ego intellect, shuts it down enough to be able to see beyond that essence of beingness that we all have different names for: spirit, soul, God, consciousness, quantum energy, whatever.
So by following the two characters you just named, Mark and Paula, we are taken into a story, and in a way, it's better for me anyway. As the kind of reading I like to do is when there's a story that teaches me something, I'm going to learn the lesson better than if it was like a textbook. Does that make sense?
You're going to love this book if you haven't completed it then.
Well, I've always had questions about this very topic, though. I mean, I have so many questions about this. The book, for those just tuning in, is called The Awakening, A Transformational Love Story. It is written by Master Coach Hugh Dalconzo, calling from New Jersey somewhere. And we're talking about affirmations, I guess you could say, or visualizations. Does that sound accurate?
Well, in one of my textbooks, Self-Mastery, A Journey Home to Your Inner Self, the second chapter is on exactly that topic, and the title is Affirmations Alone Don't Work. That was one of my discoveries 25 years ago, because I'm the poster child of this work. I'm not doing it because I walk on water. So I'm doing it because I needed it, that kind of thing.
If I was going to guess as to why affirmations alone don't work, I'm going to take a guess at this and then clean up anything I say that's wrong. Okay, my thinking is that if I decide, for example, that I want to come visit you in New Jersey, that's a pretty simple goal. All I have to do is get in the car and drive, right? But I'm going to need money for gas. I'm going to need to have a roadmap. I'm going to need to know some information about where you are. But if I just say, I'm like the affirmation, I'm going to visit you, and I never get in the car, I'm never going to see you. So we have to physically do some things in order to make our thoughts a reality. The microphone I'm talking into was somebody's idea at some point. But unless they put together the wires and the metal casing and everything that needs to go into it, there would be no microphone.
Exactly. And you define the difference between enlightenment and empowerment. Enlightenment is the knowledge of it. Empowerment is the actual taking of action. You could read 100 books on swimming, but if I push you in the pool, in the deep end, you're probably going to drown. In order to learn how to swim, you have to be in the water doing the strokes.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I was going to say I want to send a man to the moon, and I kept sending up rockets and they kept missing, then I'm taking action. I have a thought, and I'm taking action, but I didn't study it enough. You have to study how to do this in order for it to be done. That's the part that I never understood. How do you study how to be the next Springsteen, or how to be the next, business guru in your own hometown, or how to be a great parent, even something as simple as that? How do you study that?
Well, in my particular case, let's take your example of being a parent. When I wrote my chapter in that self-mastery book on holistic parenting, the first thing I did is research it like a good high school teacher would, because that was my ex-profession, right? I was teaching the emotionally handicapped in inner-city schools. So I started researching people that I respected, like Wayne Dyer and Dr. Phil and other people who had those kinds of books.
Right.
And I would read about what their philosophy was. So I would stand on their shoulders, because we don't live long enough to learn from our own mistakes.
That's true.
Matter of fact, even that in and of itself is a big no-no when we do the work. One of the first things I have to do with most people when they show up is have them understand the FAIL, first attempt in learning acronym, FAIL to succeed. FAIL to succeed, because they think that success isn't coming from making errors when we only learn by throwing gutter balls. Go bowling, first time, throw a lot of gutter balls. If you go bowling 100 times, less gutter balls, more on the lane, more to the pocket, and eventually to the pocket.
Right.
We all learn by throwing gutter balls, yet in that society, it's like, whoa, you can't make a mistake. Hey, little 2-year-old, don't do any walking until you can walk. You might hurt yourself.
That's right. I like that.
But we literally fail our way to success. So early on, when I was early in my 20s, before I even understood and became more awakened to what life is about, what I did was there was nobody in my family circle that had done anything entrepreneurial. So I started reading autobiographies, by the very, very rich and how they got that way.
Right,
Firestone, Rockefeller, Stradler, Hilton, Theodore Roosevelt, people like that. And all of them failed their way to the top. And that was one of the first things that opened me up to the realization that, it's about failure, but there is the paradox to it, right? I can't spend my time on, oh, poor me, look what I did.
Right.
I'm a victim. You see how I messed up and threw a gutter ball?
I like the story about the ocean, about the sharks underneath. Was it Diane, Donna? I can't recall her name.
Swimming around the aisle and trying to get back to the starting point.
Yeah, exactly. That was fabulous. I love that.
Well, don't say anything. Don't let your listeners hear, but that literally is me and an experience I actually had.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
I had taken my family to St. Martin's, and and where the children were, my children were in the 30s, are in their 30s now, but back then they were in grammar school. And where we brought them on its outer island off of St. Martin, there was absolutely no snorkeling. It was just like sand. So I just started. I'm a pretty strong swimmer, so I started, snorkeling around trying to find where there would be some coral or whatever. And one thing led into another, which led into another, and there isn't much exaggeration about that particular story.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's awesome.
It really was. It was one of those life-changing experiences. It was cool.
The book is on Amazon. It's getting really good ratings. You've got a 5-star rating across the board. I have a copy of the book, so if I have a listener who would like the one that was sent to us, just call us, and I'll be glad to leave it here for you. The rest of us have to go buy it. Like I say, I found it on Amazon. Do you have a website you want to recommend?
Yeah, most people can just find it on Amazon, The Awakening, A Transformational Love Story, or I have my own book website, of course, which is www.H as in Harry U, H-U, Dalconzo, DALCONZO.com, www.udelconzo.com.
So is the book itself a manifestation of a thought for you? Is this am I looking at something that was actually started out as you thinking about it?
Wow, it's really one of those woo-woo stories. I started writing this book before I opened up Holistic Learning Center. And when you were talking about the Save the Humans, what happened was, if you go back 25 years ago, I was like Paul Revere, saying everything that you can turn on any one of the Discovery channels now about what's going on in the world and all the things that could go wrong, and we could lose humanity on Earth. But when you told people 25 years ago, they go, no, please don't tell me that. That's so negative. I don't even want to hear it.
Yeah, right.
That was 25 years ago. And I wrote about 4 or 5 chapters in this book. And then I opened up the school, and it just went to the back burner. And I only picked it up again about 2 years ago. And, don't pick the grapes before it's time. And I guess I've learned enough real-world life lessons to be able to write the novel, drawing from my experiences and, of course, all my clients.
Wow.
And that's how the book got written.
That's pretty exciting. Hugh, thank you for being on the air with us. That was a great interview. Please come back, and again, you're always welcome. And stay warm in the winter up in Jersey.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful, happy holiday. You too.
Thank you.
Robin, Larry.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News, I'm Lillian Wu. Former FBI Director James Comey is back on Capitol Hill to answer questions from House committees.